Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the supportive viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald on the square in Rushville in front of the Moreland-Devitt Pharmacy. Now, the Moreland-Devitt Pharmacy is interesting for a lot of reasons. First of all, this location has been a pharmacy since the year of 1834. It's never been anything but. It started out as a log cabin, of course, and we don't have photographs of that because there was no photography then, but that's how old this business is. It's still operating, a family operation, and in fact they have been able to expand to other cities as well. Jim Devitt, it's interesting that you have been in this, you and your brother and your other relatives have been in this most of your life, I guess, and you've recently retired, but it's got to be a challenge. We're operating today's business out of an old building like this, but you've actually managed to do it, haven't you?
Yes, it is definitely a challenge on many aspects, many levels, but it's home to us, and it is a family business, and a lot of times they say that, there's a lot of difficulties with a family business, and there can be some dynamics going on there.
Sure.
But we have made it work, and it continues to work, and I hope it will in the future because we're in a new generation. I'm recently retired, but a new generation is taking over, and it's continuing on and actually has expanded in the last few years or so.
There's been a lot of different uses for this building. I mean, this building's been here a long time, and it's changed a lot over the years. Tell me, since your family has been in this business, how this has changed.
Well, it's twice the size it was when we came to Rushville in 1960 and joined my uncle Clark Moreland in the business. And there was a bookstore called Wells Bookstore next door, and they sold magazines, newspapers, all kinds of office supplies and books and things. And in late 60s, we purchased that from them and expanded into his store, so basically doubled the size of the store. And that took place and finished up in 1970. So right where it says local brew there, that used to be Wells Bookstore. And you can see up on top where the two different buildings contrast somewhat. And so it then became all of Moreland-Devitt.
It's a big building. You can see how far back it goes. Do you use all that space?
Well, we use a lot of it for storage and various things like that. We have offices up there, and part of it where the windows are on the north side here. And but the rest of it's just used a lot for storage, and we have so many prescription files that we're required to keep, mandated to.
It's changed a lot through the years, but it's remained the same too. And there used to be a bowling alley underneath.
Correct.
And of course, you used to have a soda shop in there, and it's changed now because you have home health care inside, but you still have the snack bar or the coffee shop, right?
Yeah, it's a different generation of it. We actually subcontract that out. We don't own that local brew coffee house, and they pay us a monthly rent, but they manage the whole thing, set their own hours and their own help, and it seems to have worked out, and that community seems to have supported it and appreciates it.
As a matter of fact, you've also lived through a couple of fires in this building too,
haven't you? Yes, we have. Yes.
And I guess that wasn't unusual in those times coming.
No, I don't think so. Of course, I wasn't present then, but yeah, from what I'm told, it wasn't completely unusual. But we had the luck of having the fire department right behind us. You can still see the building there.
Oh, sure, with the white doors.
Yes, and as Gary had mentioned earlier, the day we had the one fire, they were having their firemen volunteer meeting, and they said, hey, there's a fire next door, let's go put it out. It got taken care of pretty fast.
Well, let's go inside and meet your family, because you have other family members that are involved in the business. We'll take a tour, and then we're going to look at the history of this beautiful old place.
Okay. I'll point out one other thing, Mark. Those iron railings there, those are two stairways that went down to two independent businesses as well. There used to be a beauty shop on the first one, and then if you go down to the west, there was an insurance shop down there as well. None of those are there now, and we still use it mostly for storage, but it's an interesting part. It had its own outside entrance.
All right, let's go over.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Scott Stoll, this is very much a family operation. you're not one of the Moreland or Devitts,
No.
but you're still related, aren't you? How's that work?
Still related by marriage. So yeah, I married my wife Mandy, who is actually Marsha Bartlett's daughter, and married her about 16 years ago. And about 13 years ago or so, we moved down here and decided to help out with the business and maybe take it to the next generation. So.
Well, and you are that generation. In fact, we talked about the fact that it has expanded into some other cities. So, and how does that work? How does that work?
Yeah, it's been, we'd never planned on having to do, more than one store. This has always been the store, and we had opportunities that came along, and we've benefited, and we've been really fortunate where other independent pharmacies have gone by the wayside, had to close their doors, and we've gone the opposite way, and we've been able to expand over that time.
Where are the
we're over in Mount Sterling, Beardstown, and Virginia. So,
and it's called Moreland-Devitt?
Moreland-Devitt.
In those cities too? Okay, well, we have a lot of viewers in those cities. Let's walk down this side, because this was the original building, right? And we talked about this outside. We saw that it was split. It was a different build. That was a different building than this.
Correct.
So this was the original building. What would have been in here?
Yeah. So if you can see the pillars that are up here now, and that would have actually split the building. And where you're standing now, where the original soda fountain would have been.
Oh, is that right?
And the front counter was actually over along this side here as well. So they would have, we had the bus stop that was out there a long time ago. So you'd have the soda fountain here, and that eventually moved towards the back where we'll be walking here soon, I imagine. But everybody came kind of right down here, right down Broadway, and then had the pharmacy right down here until we, bought the other building next door.
And there was a bus. You could sell bus tickets.
You could sell bus tickets here, and the bus stop would be right out there. Yeah.
Okay.
We had a little bit of everything.
Now it's cards, but
now
it was a soda fountain. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then you would have gone straight back, and of course this would have been product, I guess.
Right. Yeah. All product through here.
And then because we're still in this side of the building.
Yep.
And then in the back would have been what would be
back at the time, I believe, would have been the pharmacy until we moved it over to that side. So we would have had pharmacy, maybe a few medical supplies and things like that. Medical supplies didn't kick in until a little bit later, but you would have. So it would have been a real narrow run back here to the pharmacy, and it was just a small pharmacy area at that point in time.
Well, so. I mean, there's a lot more. Pharmacies changed a lot. Now there's so many drugs available.
Yes.
You can't do it by yourself in a small place. I mean,
absolutely, yeah. And that's really the biggest thing, is that the expansion of pharmaceuticals across the country and world is just, I mean, it's just blown out throughout, our pharmacy area. But when we got the other place, when we got the other side, then that's when the pharmacy moved over here, and we brought this in as our soda fountain snack bar area. So this whole area back here became the soda fountain and snack bar, and then we opened this up to, again, more merchandise.
Okay, so the soda fountain's gone. As soda fountains have gone, it's too bad.
It is. It's unfortunate. I know.
But this is this is important product here, because not some people are in rehab or have special needs.
Right.
They need to be able to buy or rent equipment for home health care, right?
Yeah, and I mean, as our business has grown, so has the opportunity to do more things, and being in a rural setting like we are, being able to provide all of those items, whether it be medical supplies or lift chairs and things like that. That's what we really wanted to do. So that was the big reason of putting this whole home health demo area and putting the building area back there as well.
Let's go next door here, because this is the other building, and we'll just work our way over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the new pharmacy.
Yep.
And I think your uncle said that this was a bookstore.
It was a bookstore. All on this side was a bookstore for a long time. And I want to say, I can't remember the exact date when they actually bought the other side and moved it over, probably in the 50s, give or take. But they just realized the need for expansion for the drugs and the medical supplies and your normal over-the-counter items. So when they brought this down, that was really the big expansion that we had, because this really hasn't gone through that many major iterations of demo. So that was the biggest one, was knocking down this whole wall along here and then moving over. And even in time, we just moved everything around and renovated even as early as a few years ago, where we decided to make more of a boutique side over there while still keeping the drugstore feel, the old drugstore feel, and then putting all of our over-the-counter medications and things like that on the side.
Well, it gives you a chance to market Christmas items.
Right, exactly. Well, it's, I think that's the most difficult part when we look at what our layout is how do you keep things the same
the same feel. You know, how do you keep that same good corner drugstore feel that we've always wanted to be while still updating?
Right. Yeah.
So that's always the trick for us.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Marcia Bartlett, now you're one of the Morelands,
Yes.
right? Okay, your married name is Bartlett.
Correct.
You were standing in front of a place that used to be very familiar to you
Yes.
when this was half the size, the business was half the size. This was the soda shop, right?
Right.
And you worked there.
I did.
What was that like?
Well, I was just 15 and worked under Millie Manili. She ran it. And we had soups and just a regular fountain with just the red stools. I think they had a little back on them. Then we had 3 booths and then 2 bathrooms at the back. And
How much was a soda?
Oh gosh, I don't
15
remember.
cents
Probably
maybe?
5.
5
Yeah,
cents?
I think 5.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't remember, but not very much. And the bus stopped here. The bus came here, so we would get busy 2 or 3 times a day with people getting off the bus to get a drink and use the bathroom, and then have to get back on.
Okay. And so this wasn't a local bus. This was a bus that was actually going across country, I guess.
Was
huh?
it Continental? Is that-
Continental or Greyhound or one of those?
Yeah, it
okay,
was
so they would
Continental.
stop here, and you would sell tickets here.
Yes, yes. We sold them. Well, Nell Riding sold them. The checkout was over here, and she would sell. Well, actually, it was more in the middle, maybe. But we had tickets, and I kind of remember doing that. But I don't think I was allowed to do that. But it was.
But
fun.
you did when she was gone, and she was.
Yeah, maybe. She ran the. She didn't work in the snack bar. She worked in the other part of the store.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she was a clerk for all her life. I don't know, 60 plus years probably.
Do you still work here?
Yes,
You do?
I'm accounts payable. I pay bills, although I'm pretty much retired, and Emily Bartlett, my daughter-in-law, does it now. So I really just work on Fridays or when they need me.
Too bad you don't have the soda fountain anymore. That would have been a
Yeah.
tasty job. You got some interesting items up here, and you all like to keep, since you're a historical place, you like to keep keepsakes from times
Yes.
past. But those are really interesting, especially those glass.
The ones on the left are like show globes, I think they call them. When you bought so many pill bottles, like $1,000 worth of pill bottles at once, you got a free show globe, and then you could put colored water in it. We need to refill that one, I guess.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and then that greenish machine is a bow maker. We used to make our own bows. You put the little sticky thing in and turn it, make it count 20 times or something.
You mean when you wrapped packages
Yes.
for people, and
yes.
so you
when we had
bows?
gifts, a box of candy or
Interesting, yeah, sure.
all our gifts we wrapped. We still do.
Yeah. And then over here too, and you've got, is that a scale for
Yes.
for the pharmacy?
For compounding, yes. Or they used to, of course, they used to have to compound everything, and that was a type of scale they would measure the ingredients, and then 2 other show globes on the corners.
And those look older.
Those look older, yes. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The one on the first one was probably in my lifetime, but these are probably older.
Yeah.
And they might be from Lilly if you bought so much, dollars worth of drugs.
promotional
Yes,
gifts.
right.
Let's walk down this way, because there's another item here that has stayed in this building for a long time. You use it as a table to market items, but that's not what it was built for, is it?
No.
That's really
That's a doctor's table,
very
we think.
interesting.
Yeah. We found that upstairs. We're not sure what doctor. We used to have a dentist upstairs, and we had an eye doctor upstairs years ago, I think before my time. And we just found it and thought that's Emily actually.
Well, you can see you
found
would
it.
put your feet here and sit up here, and then this would
This
slide
comes
out
out,
so that
yeah.
you could put your feet up, and he could check you out.
I think it had a little red pad on it too, but we just, it was
Fascinating.
kind of needed recovered, I'm sure.
Well, we have to see more of this building, Marcia. We have to see downstairs, we have to see upstairs, we have to hear about the history of the cabin, and then the fires that occurred,
Yes.
and there's a lot that went on here through the years.
Yes, it's been busy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, earlier we talked about the fire in the basement and the fact that the volunteer fire department was having a meeting at the time, and they were able to get here in like almost no time, and it's a darn good thing, because this building probably would have burned down.
Oh yeah, as old as it is, and you could see from these beams, that they would go up just like kindling.
Well, here's the old boiler, right?
Right.
And I guess what happened was somebody left it, like as it is now, left a trash can next to the boiler. Is that how it got started?
That's what I understand. Well, actually, I think there was a cigarette or something had been thrown into the trash can, and that's how it got started.
And you can see, look how charred these beams and
Yeah.
these joists are.
Right
Look
up here,
at
you can see.
Oh
this
my
one
God!
here.
Yeah. Oh, that's serious. Yeah, that thing got hot quick, didn't it? But the building's still here, and it's pure. Really, honestly, it's just a pure luck, I think.
Yes.
Can we work back this way?
Yeah.
Now we're under the old part of the building here, but when you doubled the size of the pharmacy, this was where the wall was.
Right.
Okay.
We knocked that out to make access over here.
This was a bookstore.
Yes.
And
this was
if
under
you
the
look-
bookstore.
If you look over here, you can see that they still have some of their supplies here from, they had, office supplies and things.
Some of them are newer because we took over a lot of the office supply business and tried to carry what was necessary to keep the community supplied. But some of this is probably original bookstore equipment.
And I'm looking at the ceiling here, and this
That's
looks
an old tin ceiling.
It's a
isn't
tin.
it?
Listen to that. Holy doggone! And that really, I wouldn't want to take on the job of derusting that, but that could be cleaned up pretty nicely, couldn't it?
Yes. A lot of people do that, but I'm not sure.
I don't think
it's
we want to.
practical at this point.
And back over here, this is interesting because back in the day, and some of this might have been from, gee whiz, the late 1800s. Some of these potions and compounds and medicines, but you can see that.
This is the way pharmacy used to operate, was that they would combine and compound these ingredients together to make the medicine that the doctor had ordered. And it's not used much, it's not used at all to speak of here anymore, but we kept it mostly as a historical perspective than anything. But you can see there's some really, really old bottles here.
Boy, it would have been a lot to do. Actually, you would have had to follow recipes, wouldn't you?
Yes.
To make some of these compounds.
Yes, you certainly would.
Okay. Let's. I understand there's a bowling alley. There was a bowling alley here. Let's go take a look.
Yep.
Jim, there was a lot going on down here. I mean, we talked about the fire, but there were other businesses here that
Yes.
were leased out. This one was, what was going on?
This was an insurance office, the way I first remembered it. And then when that ceased to exist, a barbershop moved in, and it was a barbershop for many years. And then they left, and we decided to keep some of our home health supplies, especially with CPAP supplies and things like that. And we had a man that would actually work on it. Bob Wheelhouse was an old TV repairman from Wheelhouse TV, and he came to work for us, and he was really skilled at being able to fix things like that. So he had his own little workroom in there.
Oh, I
and
see.
This is where he operated.
Somebody was operating a one-lane bowling alley.
Yeah,
This is what I want to see. If you
This
can
is
see-
pretty unique.
It really is.
But this was a bowling alley.
And I guess you'd have one pin setter, right?
Yes.
And he or she would work at the back here, and just one lane. And do you know anything about who operated this bowling alley?
No, I certainly don't. There's still some graphics here that had to do with the bowling alley, and we've left those there for historical perspective.
All
but
scores must be beat.
$1 for high score.
$1 for high
in 3
score.
straight games.
Okay.
I think that says something about dominoes, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
looks like African dominoes. That must have been a game they played.
Yes.
And then, can you turn the light in here for us? Because this
sure.
room has an interesting past too.
Let me get the light over here.
There it is.
This was originally a beauty shop.
Oh, okay.
And I can still remember the beauticians working in here, and they would go out this door, down the bowling alley, and use the restrooms upstairs in the drugstore, because there aren't any down here. But it was a beauty shop for many years. And
It smells odd down here.
Well-
What were they making down here?
we concocted a horse liniment with a local veterinarian and my Uncle Clark Moreland, got together and produced this horse liniment that was shipped all over the country, even into Canada and places like that.
Huh.
And it was a big part of the business here for a long time. Then the ingredients became extremely hard to get, and the FDA started cracking down on a lot of the different chemicals that were used in the liniment, and so we had to cease to.
And they would rub this on the horses, on their legs?
Yes.
Or, and it was successful. And the pharmacy mixed it down here and sent it out.
Yes, we shipped it out from
Doggone.
the store, and it was a good chunk of business, really. We'd have horse trainers that would call us from all over when we stopped making it and say, I just got to have it. It's the only thing that works. And we wished we could continue to supply it, but it wasn't supposed to be.
Well, thanks. Well, Gary Moreland, we were talking about what a family business this is and how it has been, through the years. And interestingly, your dad, another Mr. Moreland, became a pharmacy here kind of by accident, or a pharmacist kind of by accident. How did it happen?
Well, my dad was a pharmacist in Chicago, moved to Quincy and was working there as a pharmacist didn't own a store, but as a pharmacist in another store, and was headed back to Chicago and stopped here for a Coke, he said, because he heard somebody might be looking for a job, a pharmacist, and sure enough, the owner was a lady named Miss Vetter, and her pharmacist had recently passed away, and she was indeed looking for a pharmacist. And as he said, be careful where you stop because you may never get away. So that was in '53, and he came to work for her, for Miss Vetter, and a couple years later arranged to purchase, and there it started. And of course, as you've met the people here, we're all kind of related. We've all been here, and the grandparents moved from Chicago and Pennsylvania, and we just all ended up here. And
that's how Vetter became Moreland-Devitt, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, too, if we look at those awards up there, and they look like bowls to me, but the top one was the one that was awarded to your father as Pharmacist of the Year in Illinois. Is that right?
Well, the top one was the Bowl of Hygeia, which is for community service, which he embodied, and he was also named Pharmacist of the Year. And fortunately, and I was able to be named that, and also get a Bowl of Hygeia award. So that's
and that's the bottom one.
Yeah.
And they're identical, except one's older than the other, right?
Yeah.
They're identical.
Yeah, and very proud of that because it represents not just pharmacy service and something you've done in pharmacy, but also for your community, which is something we were both very proud of.
Yeah. The reason I'm sitting here and you're sitting there is because this is one thing that you can provide to your patients that not every pharmacy can. You'll sit down and you'll actually discuss with them.
I think that's the key to our success. We want to interact. If I had my way, I'd be here all the time. We kind of triage. We can interact with the patient. We can find patients frequently don't know they have a question until they sit down and talk. And pretty soon they have a question that you can answer, whether it's about how to afford medication, what's the right medication, does this problem I'm having need be helped by medication? And sometimes we say, yeah, this is something you may want to see your doctor as well. But it's sort of a triage. And of course, if the front door is open, there's a pharmacist here that'll help you. So access is the key.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Gary, we've made a lot about, and maybe not as much as we should, about the history of this pharmacy, of the fact that it's not the same pharmacy, but this location has been a pharmacy since 1834.
Correct.
And you've done a little research, and you can't find a pharmacy anywhere that's any older.
Nope, there's not in this state, so we claim, and I think rightfully so, to be the oldest pharmacy established in 1884 and still going now, 1834, and going now. And in fact, I contend that we're the oldest pharmacy continually serving their community from the same location in the nation, because every other pharmacy I see that's older than us, and there's only a couple in the country, have moved around in their community. But there's always been a pharmacy at the corner that this one sits on right now in Rushville.
Yeah, it was the Vetter pharmacy, and then I think we did mention that your father then bought it from then, and it became Moreland-Devitt. Devitt was the retail genius, and Moreland was the pharmacist, and that's still the way it is today. We've got a lot of pictures of your dad when he was not only working the pharmacy, the Morelands and the Devitts together. Pictures of your dad when he was manning the soda fountain out there. Did he enjoy this kind of work?
He loved it. Really enjoyed working with people, and well, a good example of that is he wanted to take care of people. That was his thing. Let me take care of these patients. So he put a phone in our house. Every time the phone rang here, it rang at our house too. That way, if he was closed, he could still answer it. That's the way I grew up. That kind of level of service is the way I grew up. Just taking care of patients 24/7. They would advertise 24/7. That literally mean come knock on my door and we'll take care of you. He loved it, and people in the community really loved him for it. Yeah, it's a good legacy for me to aspire to.
We see in small towns, small cities in the case of some of these places, it's hard for retail establishments to operate because the giant retailers of the world kind of tend to take over, and it's hard to compete with them. And you'll see pharmacies in small towns have disappeared largely, but not here.
Yeah, and it's tricky. It's a tricky business. The middlemen in this industry are exerting so much influence and extracting so much money from it, the PBMs, that it makes it hard for independent pharmacies to survive. They do some things, independent pharmacies though, do some things that nobody else can. that's building the relationship with the patient. Good health care is about relationships, and that's what small pharmacies especially can do better than anything else. And they still do that. And the pharmacies that they are successful in, it's just when the playing field's not level, it makes it hard for some of these little ones to continue to be viable.
Gary, I want to say thank you to you and your whole family. Almost your whole family here helped us put the story together. But they also help run the operation, don't they?
Every day, where it is indeed a family operation.
Is that the fire station?
It must be noon, Mark.
Oh, it's noon. Okay, I said we're not having another fire, are we?
Not today. That's the noon whistle.
Okay.
The fire station, as we told you, used to be right next door.
Okay.
So.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We mentioned the fact that this has been a pharmacy since 1834, which makes it maybe the oldest pharmacy at this location, the oldest pharmacy in the nation. But they kind of do things in a new way too, because they've grown from one location to 4. And in fact, at the Virginia location, you can get a service like telehealth, where you can in a distance, you can talk to the pharmacist about what your needs are. With another Illinois story in Rushville, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.